You worked so hard for this and just want to give it away?
Yes, sir, she deserves it, and I will do anything for her.
The small town of Pine Hollow wasn't the kind of place where dreams came easily. It was the kind of place where people measured success one day at a time. Every sunrise meant another chance to find work, another chance to put food on the table, and another chance to hope life would eventually get better. Most families struggled, but no one struggled quite like Mikul. At just 20 years old, Mikul had no parents, no brothers or sisters, and no wealthy relatives to lean on. Ever since losing his parents as a child, he had learned that if he wanted to survive, he had to depend on his own hands. While most young men his age were still searching for direction, Mikul had already become known throughout the town as the young man who never refused honest work. Before dawn broke each morning, he was already walking the dusty roads of Pine Hollow, carrying his worn-out work bag from one farm to another. Some days, he harvested vegetables beneath the scorching sun. Other days, he repaired broken fences, chopped firewood, carried heavy sacks of grain, or helped elderly farmers tend their fields. No matter how difficult the job was, Mikul never complained. He simply worked. On one warm afternoon, after spending hours harvesting vegetables on a nearby farm, an elderly woman smiled as she handed him a few folded dollar bills. "Mikul, you work harder than most young men in this town." She looked at him with genuine admiration. "May God reward your efforts one day." Mikul accepted the money with both hands. "And man, Mama, take this. It's not much, but thank you for helping me today." "Thank you, Mama. I truly appreciate it." The old woman smiled warmly. "You're a good boy." Mikul looked down at the small amount of money before carefully placing it inside his pocket. A faint smile crossed his face. "At least I have something for today." The elderly woman nodded. "Thank God." Mikul waved goodbye before beginning the long walk home. His faded brown shirt was soaked with sweat. Dust covered his old boots. His rough hands showed years of hard labor, despite his young age. His stomach growled with hunger. He hadn't eaten since the previous evening. But instead of complaining, he simply kept walking. As he made his way down the quiet dirt road, one of the villagers greeted him. "Mikul, you just coming back?" "Yes. I was helping on a farm today." The man shook his head with concern. "You work too hard." Mikul smiled softly. "Someone has to." The villager studied him for a moment. "Have you eaten today?" Mikul hesitated before answering. "Not yet." The man sighed. "You really work too hard." "I'll be fine." Although he smiled, the truth was that exhaustion had become a normal part of Mikul's life. Still, he refused to lose hope. He believed that one day all his sacrifices would mean something. Across town, another conversation was taking place. Inside a modest wooden house, Abigail's mother stood in the living room with her arms folded. Her face carried years of hardship and disappointment. "Abigail, when will you understand?" Abigail looked up from the kitchen. "Mama, what's the problem?" "So, you still haven't been listening to me?" "What do you mean?" "Come inside." The moment Abigail entered the room, her mother's expression grew even more serious. "So you're still seeing that boy after everything I told you?" "Mama, he's just my friend. A friend who has nothing to offer you." Abigail frowned. "Mama, I don't know what Mikul has done to make you dislike him so much. It's not about liking him." "Then why don't you like him?" Her mother slowly looked around the small house. "Take a good look around this place. Do you enjoy living like this?" Abigail remained silent. "I married your father because I loved him. I believed love would be enough. But look where that love brought me." She sighed heavily. "I've spent my entire life struggling. I don't want my daughter to struggle the same way." "But Mama, Mikul is hardworking. He's trying his best." Her mother shook her head. "Hardworking? I've worked hard all my life. What has it changed? That boy has no parents, no family, no one to help him build a future." She gently held Abigail's shoulders. "You are beautiful. You are intelligent. You deserve opportunities one never had. I want you to marry someone who can give you the life you deserve. So please, stay away from Mikul." Abigail lowered her eyes. She understood her mother's fears. Every word came from years of pain. But deep inside, Abigail also knew something her mother refused to see. Mikul wasn't poor because he was lazy. He wasn't unsuccessful because he lacked ambition. Life had simply been unfair to him. Later that afternoon, Abigail walked toward the large oak tree standing at the edge of town. It had always been their favorite place to talk. She found Mikuel sitting beneath its shade, staring quietly at the open fields. "You look exhausted." He smiled. "I've been working since sunrise." She sat beside him. "For months now, all I've done is stay home. I feel like my dreams are slipping away." Mikuel turned toward her. "Don't give up. We still have a university scholarship examination." Abigail smiled sadly. "I haven't even registered. I don't have the money." Mikuel reached into his pocket and smiled. "Don't worry. I've been saving for months. I already registered both of us." Abigail stared at him. "You what?" "I registered both of us." "You used your savings?" "For me too." He nodded. "You should have registered only yourself." Mikuel chuckled softly. "What kind of friend would I be if I only thought about myself?" Abigail couldn't believe what she was hearing. For months, she had watched Mikuel work from sunrise until sunset. She had assumed he was saving every dollar to build his own future. Instead, he had quietly sacrificed those savings so they could both have a chance. Tears gathered in her eyes. "Mikuel, thank you." He smiled gently. "Don't thank me yet. Let's write the exam first. Then we'll leave the rest in God's hands." The two friends sat beneath the oak tree as the golden evening sun slowly disappeared behind the hills. A cool breeze rustled the leaves above them. Neither of them spoke again. Neither of them realized that this quiet moment would become the beginning of a journey that would test friendship, sacrifice, love, and destiny in ways neither could have imagined. A week later, the day everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. The community hall was filled with young men and women from different towns, each hoping the scholarship examination would become their ticket to a better future. For many of them, this was more than just an exam. It was their only chance. Mikuel and Abigail sat side by side near the back of the examination hall. Abigail couldn't stop tapping her pencil against the desk. She took a deep breath before whispering, "Mikuel, I'm nervous." He looked at her and smiled reassuringly. "Don't be. We both prepared as much as we could." She forced a small smile. "What if I fail?" "You won't. And even if one of us doesn't make it, at least we tried." The examiner walked to the front of the room. "Good morning, everyone. This scholarship has the power to change someone's future. Do your best. You may begin." The room immediately became silent. Hours passed. Some students looked confident. Others struggled through the difficult questions. Mikuel remained calm from beginning to end. Across the room, Abigail occasionally glanced at him before returning to her paper. Finally, the examiner announced, "Time is up." Everyone slowly handed in their answer sheets. As they walked outside, Abigail sighed with relief. "I don't even know how I did." Mikuel laughed. "You survived. That's enough for today." She smiled. "Let's just hope one of us gets the scholarship." Days passed, then weeks. Finally, the announcement everyone had been waiting for arrived. The examination hall was once again filled with anxious students. The scholarship officer stood at the podium holding a single envelope. "Thank you all for participating in this year's scholarship examination. The results have been carefully reviewed. You should all be proud of yourselves. Today, one student will receive a full university scholarship." Abigail quietly held her breath. Mikuel stared at the floor. "The winner of this year's scholarship is..." He slowly opened the envelope. "Mikuel." The room erupted into applause. Several students congratulated him as he slowly stood in disbelief. I won." The scholarship officer smiled. "Congratulations. You earned it." Abigail's eyes filled with tears. She rushed over and hugged him. "I'm so happy for you. You deserve this." Mikuel hugged her back. "Thank you." For a brief moment, he allowed himself to imagine a different life. University, a career, a future beyond endless farm work. It was everything he had dreamed about. Then he looked at Abigail. Her smile was genuine, but behind it, he could see disappointment she was trying to hide. She had lost her only opportunity. A few moments later, the scholarship officer called him into his office. "Congratulations once again, Mikuel. You worked incredibly hard." "Thank you, sir." The officer placed several documents on the desk. These are your admission papers. Mikuel stared quietly at them. Then he slowly looked up. Sir, I want to ask you something. The officer nodded. What is it? Can a scholarship be transferred to someone else? The officer looked surprised. It can, but only under very special circumstances. He frowned. Why are you asking? Mikuel remained silent for several seconds. I was just wondering. The officer studied his face. You worked harder than anyone. Think carefully before making any decision. This opportunity may never come again. I understand. Mikuel thanked him before quietly leaving the office. Outside, Abigail smiled. What took you so long? Oh, nothing important. Are you sure? Yes. Let's go home. The next morning, before sunrise, Mikuel returned to the scholarship office alone. The scholarship officer looked surprised. I had a feeling you'd come back. Mikuel nodded. I've made my decision. The officer sighed. Are you absolutely certain? Mikuel smiled softly. I've never been more certain. I want the scholarship transferred to Abigail. Do you understand what you're giving up? Mikuel looked toward the window. I do. This scholarship can change your entire life. I know. Then why? Mikuel smiled. Because seeing her achieve her dream means more to me than achieving my own. The officer stared at him in disbelief. He had spent years helping students, but he had never witnessed a sacrifice like this. Later that morning, Abigail received an unexpected phone call asking her to return to the office immediately. Confused, she hurried there. When she entered, she saw Mikuel standing quietly beside the scholarship officer. Abigail, he made a decision. A decision? The officer handed her a folder. Mikuel has transferred his scholarship to you. She looked at the documents, then back at Mikuel. Her hands began shaking. What? No. Mikuel, why would you do this? You've dreamed about going to university for as long as I've known you. I couldn't watch that dream disappear. She could barely hold back her tears. But what about your future? He shrugged gently. I'll find another way. I always do. Abigail broke down crying. I can't accept this. You have to. It's your chance. No, it's yours. He stepped closer. Listen to me. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know one thing. You belong there. So go, study, build the future you've always dreamed about. She wiped away her tears. I don't know how I'll ever repay you. Mikuel smiled. You don't have to, but I do have one request. She nodded. Anything. He looked into her eyes. Promise me, no matter where life takes you, you'll come back for me. Without hesitation, Abigail reached for his hands. I promise. I'll come back. Neither of them knew how much that promise would be tested in the years ahead. A few days later, the morning of Abigail's departure finally arrived. An old bus waited at the station. Mikuel carried her suitcase to the luggage compartment before turning toward her. You'll call me when you get there? She smiled through her tears. I will. Take care of yourself. You too. As the bus slowly pulled away, Abigail looked through the window until Mikuel became smaller and smaller in the distance. He stood there waving with a smile. Only after the bus disappeared beyond the hills did he quietly wipe the tears from his own eyes. For the first time in years, Mikuel had lost the future he had worked so hard to earn. But somehow, seeing Abigail chase her dream made the sacrifice feel worthwhile. Little did he know, destiny was only beginning to write their story. The journey to the university took nearly 6 hours, but to Abigail, it felt like she was traveling into an entirely different world. As the bus rolled through the gates of Westbridge University, her eyes widened with amazement. Beautiful brick buildings stretched across the campus. Students hurried between classes carrying backpacks and laptops, while others relaxed beneath the tall oak trees. Colorful flowers surrounded sparkling fountains, and the entire campus buzzed with excitement. Abigail smiled. So, this is where dreams come true. Stepping off the bus with her suitcase, she took a deep breath. For the first time in her life, she truly believed her future was beginning. Across campus, another student had just arrived. Nathan Brooks. Known by almost everyone as Big N, Nathan was the son of one of America's wealthiest businessmen. Money had never been a problem for him. Luxury cars, designer clothes, private schools. He had grown up with everything. As he walked across campus with his best friend, Marcus, his attention suddenly shifted. He stopped walking. Marcus frowned. "What's wrong?" Nathan didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on a young woman pulling a suitcase across the courtyard. She looked completely lost. Yet there was something about her that immediately caught his attention. Her smile was natural. Her beauty wasn't forced. She looked different from everyone else. Marcus followed his gaze and laughed. "Don't tell me." "What? You've fallen for a girl you haven't even met." Nathan smiled slightly. "I just want to know her name." Marcus laughed. "That's how every love story starts." Nathan continued watching until she disappeared inside one of the dormitories. Later that morning, hundreds of freshmen gathered inside the university auditorium. The dean welcomed the new students. "Welcome to Westbridge University. The future you've always dreamed about begins today. Success won't be handed to you. You must earn it." Abigail listened carefully. She wasn't just beginning university. She was living the dream Mikuel had sacrificed everything to give her. Several rows behind her, Nathan quietly leaned toward a student leader. The girl sitting near the front. "Who is she?" The senior smiled. "That's Abigail. She's one of this year's scholarship students." Nathan nodded. "So that's her name." After orientation, Abigail finally found her dorm room. She opened the door and met another young woman unpacking. "You must be my roommate." Abigail smiled. "I guess I am. I'm Clara." "I'm Abigail." Clara laughed happily. "Please tell me you're a freshman." "I am." "Oh, thank goodness. I thought I'd be living with someone who'd order me around." The two girls laughed together. Within minutes, they were already becoming close friends. That evening, Abigail stepped outside the dormitory and called Mikuel. He answered immediately. "Hello." "Hi." His familiar voice instantly made her smile. "How's university?" She looked around the beautiful campus. "It's amazing. I wish you could see this place." Mikuel smiled softly. "One day, I miss you." There was a brief silence. "I miss you too. But hearing how happy you are reminds me that giving you that scholarship was the right decision." Abigail felt tears forming in her eyes. "I promise I'll make you proud." "You already have." After ending the call, she looked toward the sunset and quietly smiled. She hadn't forgotten her promise. She never would. The next morning, Abigail and Clara wandered around campus, searching for their lecture hall. Clara stared at the campus map before sighing dramatically. "I think we're officially lost." Abigail laughed. "I've been pretending I knew where we were going." The two friends burst into laughter. Nearby, Nathan spotted Abigail once again. "There she is." Marcus smiled knowingly. "You're still thinking about her?" Nathan nodded. "I don't know why, but there's something special about her." Marcus shrugged, then stopped staring and go talk to her. Nathan took a deep breath. "For the first time in my life, I'm actually nervous." Marcus laughed. "The famous big and nervous? I never thought I'd see this day." Nathan ignored him and walked toward Abigail. "Hi." Abigail looked up. "Hello. I'm Nathan." "I'm Abigail. You must be new here." "I am. I haven't seen you around before. I just arrived." Nathan smiled warmly. "Well, welcome to Westbridge University." "Thank you. I hope you enjoy your time here." "I'm sure I will." "It was nice meeting you." "You too." Nathan walked away. The moment he disappeared, Clara turned to Abigail in complete disbelief. "Do you even know who that was?" Abigail shook her head. "No, that was Nathan Brooks, the billionaire's son." Abigail looked surprised. "Seriously?" Clara nodded excitedly. "He's one of the most popular students on campus. And he just walked over to introduce himself to you." Abigail smiled. "I think he was just being friendly." Clara laughed. "I don't think so." Across the courtyard, Marcus looked at Nathan. "So?" Nathan smiled. "I met a lot of people, but there's something different about her." Marcus folded his arms. "What if she already has a boyfriend?" Nathan looked toward Abigail. "Then I'll just have to earn a place in her heart." Hundreds of miles away, Mikuel sat outside his small house after another exhausting day of work. He held an old photograph of himself and Abigail. Looking at it, he smiled quietly. "I hope you're happy." He had no idea that another man had just entered Abigail's life. A man who had everything Mikuel never could. And as fate quietly brought their worlds together, The promise made beneath the old oak tree was about to face its greatest test. Will Abigail remain faithful to the man who sacrificed everything for her? Or will the billionaire's son slowly win her heart? Find out in the next chapter. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments. Who would you choose, Mikul or Nathan? The weeks passed quickly at Westbridge University. For Abigail, every day felt like another reminder of the promise she had made. She attended every lecture, spent long nights studying with Clara, and refused to waste the opportunity Mikul had sacrificed everything to give her. Whenever her classmates went to expensive restaurants or weekend parties, Abigail politely declined. Every dollar mattered. Every minute mattered. She wasn't just studying for herself anymore. She was studying for Mikul too. One afternoon, Abigail and Clara were buried in textbooks inside the university library. I think my brain has officially stopped working, Clara groaned, dropping her pen onto the table. Abigail laughed. You've only been studying for 2 hours. Only, I deserve an award. The two friends laughed, drawing a few curious glances from nearby students. Just then, someone placed 2 cups of coffee on their table. Looks like you two could use these. Abigail looked up. Nathan. He smiled. I figured future scholars shouldn't study while half asleep. Clara's eyes widened. You bought us coffee? Nathan shrugged. I was buying one for myself anyway. Mind if I join you? Abigail exchanged a quick glance with Clara before nodding. Sure. That afternoon became their first real conversation. To Nathan's surprise, Abigail wasn't interested in talking about his expensive cars, famous family, or luxurious lifestyle. Instead, she talked passionately about books, education, and helping children from poor communities one day. Nathan found himself listening more than speaking. For the first time in years, someone liked him without caring who his father was. After that day, their paths seemed to cross everywhere. Sometimes in the cafeteria, sometimes outside lectures, sometimes in the library. Their conversations grew longer. Their friendship grew stronger. Yet Abigail always kept a respectful distance. She never gave Nathan a reason to believe they were anything more than friends. One evening, after finishing a late study session, Nathan walked Abigail back to her dormitory. You know, he said with a smile, you're different. Abigail laughed. I've heard that twice this week. I'm serious. Most people act differently around me. You don't. She shrugged. Should I? No. I actually like it. She smiled politely. Good night, Nathan. Good night. As she disappeared inside the dormitory, Nathan remained standing outside for a few seconds. Marcus suddenly appeared beside him. You got it bad. Nathan sighed. I know. Back in Pine Hollow, life had become even harder for Mikul. Every morning before sunrise, he worked at a construction site. Every afternoon, he helped on nearby farms. Some nights, he repaired fences or unloaded delivery trucks just to earn a few extra dollars. He barely slept. He barely ate. But every Friday evening, no matter how exhausted he was, he waited for one phone call. Abigail never forgot. One Friday night, his old cell phone finally rang. He answered immediately. Hello. Hi, Mikul. A tired smile spread across his face. How are you? I'm doing well. I passed all my midterm exams. I knew you would. She smiled. I couldn't have done it without you. You did the hard work. No, you gave me the chance. For nearly an hour, they talked about everything. The university, the town, old memories, dreams for the future. Neither of them noticed someone standing a short distance away. Nathan. He had been walking across campus when he heard Abigail laughing. Curious, he stopped. He had never seen her smile like that before. Whoever was on the other end of that phone call clearly meant everything to her. The next day, Nathan couldn't stop thinking about it. Finally, curiosity got the better of him. During lunch, he casually asked Clara, Does Abigail have family back home? Clara hesitated. Why are you asking? I'm just curious. She smiled knowingly. I think you're asking about someone else. Nathan laughed. Maybe. Clara looked around before lowering her voice. There's someone. Nathan's smile slowly faded. Someone. His name is Mikul. Nathan remained silent. Who is he? Clara sighed. The man who gave up everything. She told Nathan the entire story. How Mikuel had worked endless jobs to save money. How he had secretly registered Abigail for the scholarship examination. How he had won. How he had shocked everyone by transferring the scholarship to Abigail instead of keeping it for himself. And finally, the promise. Before Abigail left, Clara said quietly, he asked her to promise she'd come back for him. Nathan stared at the table. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Someone had given away the biggest opportunity of his life, just so the woman he loved could chase her dreams. Marcus walked over moments later. So, what did you find out? Nathan looked at him. I've been competing with the wrong man. Marcus frowned. What do you mean? He's not just some boyfriend. He's the reason she's here. For the first time in his life, Nathan didn't feel jealous. He felt respect. That evening, Abigail called Mikuel again. I have some good news. What is it? I was selected to lead our academic research team. I knew you could do it. She smiled. I wish you were here. One day, I'll come home. I promised. Mikuel looked up at the stars above his tiny house. I'll be waiting. As he ended the call, he quietly placed their old graduation photograph back inside his drawer. Miles away, Nathan stood alone outside his apartment, staring at the city lights. He had finally learned the truth. The woman he was slowly falling in love with already belonged to a man who had loved her enough to sacrifice his own future. Most people would have walked away. Most people would have accepted defeat. Nathan wasn't most people. He respected Mikuel. He admired him, but he couldn't deny what his heart was telling him. Looking toward the glowing skyline, he whispered quietly to himself, I know what he did for you, and I respect him for it, but I'm not ready to give up. Little did the three of them know, destiny was quietly pulling them toward a confrontation that would test not only their hearts, but also the meaning of love, loyalty, and sacrifice. Would Abigail's promise be strong enough to survive the distance? Or was her heart slowly beginning to change without her even realizing it? Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments. If you were Nathan, would you walk away after learning Mikuel's sacrifice, or would you still fight for love? Months passed, and Abigail quickly became one of the brightest students at Westbridge University. Her professors praised her dedication. Her classmates admired her humility. No matter how successful she became, she never forgot where she came from, or the man who had made it all possible. Nathan remained by her side as a friend. He never pressured her. He never spoke about his feelings again. Instead, he encouraged her before every exam, helped her with difficult projects, and celebrated every achievement. Slowly, Abigail began to trust him. One afternoon, the university announced the final examination results. Students crowded around the notice board, anxiously searching for their names. Clara screamed with excitement. Abigail, you did it! Abigail pushed through the crowd and stared at the list. Her eyes filled with tears. She had graduated with first-class honors. The students around her burst into applause. Her professors congratulated her. Clara hugged her tightly. I knew you could do it. Abigail smiled through her tears. This isn't just my victory. It's Mikuel's too. Later that evening, Nathan invited Abigail to dinner at a quiet restaurant near campus. She hesitated for a moment before agreeing. As they sat across from each other, Nathan looked at her with admiration. I've never met anyone like you. Abigail smiled politely. Thank you. My father has been following your academic achievements. She looked surprised. He has. Nathan nodded. He owns Brooks Global Holdings. We're expanding our education division. He wants to offer you a management position after graduation. Abigail nearly dropped her glass. A job? Nathan smiled. Not just any job. A position that most graduates dream of. The salary was more money than Abigail had ever imagined earning. She thanked him sincerely. I don't know what to say. You don't have to answer today. Just think about it. That night, Abigail couldn't sleep. She looked at the framed graduation picture she had brought from home. In it, she and Mikuel were smiling without a care in the world. She whispered softly, I wish you were here. The following weekend, Abigail boarded a bus home for the first time in nearly 4 years. Her heart raced as the familiar roads came into view. When the bus stopped, she stepped down and looked around. Before she could even call his name, Mikuel appeared. He looked older, thinner. His hands were rough from years of hard labor. But the smile on his face hadn't changed. "Welcome home." Abigail ran toward him and hugged him tightly. For several moments, neither of them said a word. Finally, she stepped back and looked at him carefully. "You've lost weight." Mikhail laughed. "I've just been working." She frowned. "You've been working too much." "It's nothing." But Abigail wasn't convinced. As they walked through the village, everyone greeted her warmly. "We're proud of you. You've made this town proud." She smiled at everyone, but her eyes kept drifting back to Mikhail. Something about him had changed. That evening, Mikhail led her to the community hall. When he opened the door, Abigail froze. The room was decorated with balloons, handmade banners, and simple paper flowers. Their neighbors stood waiting with smiles on their faces. A banner hung across the wall. "Welcome home, our graduate." Abigail covered her mouth in shock. "You did all this?" One of the elderly women laughed. Mikhail organized everything. He spent weeks preparing. Another neighbor smiled. He even worked extra shifts to pay for the food. Abigail slowly turned toward Mikhail. You didn't have to do this." He smiled shyly. "I wanted your homecoming to be special." Throughout the evening, everyone celebrated. There was music, laughter, homemade food. For the first time in years, Mikhail looked truly happy. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, Abigail noticed Mikhail rubbing his sore shoulder. "Does it hurt?" He quickly lowered his arm. "It's nothing." She gently took his hand. "Mikhail, how many jobs are you working now?" He looked away. "Just enough." She sighed. "You always say that." Before he could answer, headlights appeared outside the house. A sleek black luxury SUV slowly pulled into the driveway. The villagers stopped what they were doing and stared in amazement. The vehicle came to a stop. A well-dressed driver stepped out and opened the rear door. Nathan climbed out. Wearing a tailored navy suit and carrying a small gift bag, he looked completely out of place in a quiet rural town. Abigail's eyes widened. "Nathan," he smiled politely. "I hope I'm not interrupting. I was nearby for a business meeting. I thought I'd congratulate you in person." The villagers whispered among themselves. "Who is he? Look at that car. He must be rich." Mikhail walked forward and extended his hand. "You must be Nathan." Nathan shook it firmly. "And you must be Mikhail." For a brief moment, the two men looked into each other's eyes. Neither spoke, but both understood exactly who the other was. Nathan had finally met the man whose sacrifice had changed Abigail's life. And Mikhail had finally met the billionaire who had become part of Abigail's new world. The silence between them was heavy. Abigail could feel the tension. She quickly introduced them, hoping to ease the awkwardness. The three of them sat together outside beneath the stars. The conversation was polite, respectful, but underneath every smile was an unspoken truth. Both men loved the same woman. As Nathan prepared to leave, he looked at Mikhail. "I've heard a lot about you." Mikhail smiled. "I've heard about you too." Nathan nodded slowly. Then, after making sure Abigail had gone inside to help her mother, he turned back to Mikhail. His expression became serious. "I owe you my respect. What you did for Abigail, very few people could have done." Mikhail nodded quietly. Nathan took a deep breath. "But respect doesn't change how I feel." He looked Mikhail straight in the eyes. "I love Abigail too, and I'm not giving up." Mikhail remained silent. As Nathan's SUV disappeared into the darkness, Mikhail stood alone beneath the old oak tree. For the first time since giving away his dream, he realized that the greatest battle of his life would not be against poverty. It would be against the fear of losing the woman he had sacrificed everything to protect. Who will Abigail choose? The man who gave up his future for her, or the man who can give her every comfort she has ever dreamed of? Who deserves Abigail's heart? Mikhail or Nathan? Nathan's black SUV disappeared down the quiet country road, leaving behind a silence that felt heavier than words. Mikhail stood beneath the old oak tree, staring into the distance. For the first time in years, he felt something he had never allowed himself to feel. Fear. Not fear of poverty, not fear of hard work, but fear of losing Abigail. The next morning, Abigail found Mikhail repairing a broken fence behind his small house. "You were up before sunrise again?" she asked. He smiled without looking at her. Some habits never change. She walked closer and noticed the deep cracks on his hands. His clothes were faded. His work boots were nearly worn through. Yet he never complained. "Mikuel, when was the last time you bought something for yourself?" He laughed softly. "I can't even remember." Her heart sank. Later that afternoon, Abigail visited one of the elderly women who had helped raise Mikuel after his parents passed away. As they talked, the woman accidentally revealed something Mikuel had kept secret for years. "My dear, you know he sold his parents' land, don't you?" Abigail frowned. "What land?" "The small piece of farmland his father left him. He sold it during your second year at university." Abigail's face turned pale. "Why?" The elderly woman smiled sadly. "So he could keep sending money whenever you needed books, transportation, and living expenses. He never wanted you to know." Tears immediately filled Abigail's eyes. She remembered every time money had mysteriously arrived just when she needed it. Every time Mikuel had said, "Don't worry about me." Every time he claimed he was doing fine. He had been lying, not to deceive her, but to protect her. Abigail ran out of the house with tears streaming down her face. She found Mikuel sitting beneath the old oak tree. Without saying a word, she threw her arms around him. He looked surprised. "Abigail, why?" Her voice trembled. "Why didn't you tell me?" He gently pulled away. "Tell you what? You sold your father's land." Mikuel lowered his eyes. "So you found out. How could you hide something like that from me?" He smiled softly. "You were chasing your dream. I didn't want you looking back. I wanted you looking forward." Abigail could no longer hold back her tears. "You gave up everything. The scholarship, your savings, your land, your future, and you never asked for anything in return." Mikuel looked into her eyes. "I asked for one thing." She smiled through her tears. "You asked me to come back. And I did." At that very moment, a familiar black SUV pulled into the driveway. Nathan stepped out. He had returned to say goodbye before leaving town. As he approached, he saw Abigail holding Mikuel tightly beneath the oak tree. He stopped walking. He didn't interrupt. Instead, he quietly listened as Abigail spoke. "You spent years building my future. Now it's my turn to build ours." Nathan closed his eyes for a brief moment. Everything suddenly became clear. Money could buy beautiful houses, luxury cars, successful businesses, but could never buy what stood before him. A love built on sacrifice. He slowly walked toward them. Both Abigail and Mikuel turned. Nathan smiled warmly. "I came to say goodbye." Abigail looked surprised. "Goodbye." He nodded. "I've spent months trying to compete with a man I could never replace." He looked directly at Mikuel. "You've already won." Mikuel shook his head. "This wasn't a competition." Nathan smiled. "I know, and that's exactly why you deserve her." He reached into his pocket and handed Abigail a business card. "If you ever need anything, a job, a partnership, or simply a friend, my door will always be open." Abigail hugged him. "Thank you." Nathan smiled. "Take good care of each other." With one final wave, he climbed into his SUV and drove away. This time, he never looked back. Weeks passed. Life slowly returned to normal. Abigail accepted a teaching position at a nearby school, determined to help children from families just like hers. Mikuel continued working, but no longer alone. Together, they started rebuilding the small farm that had once belonged to his parents. One evening, as the sun began to set, Mikuel asked Abigail to take a walk. Without saying where they were going, he led her down the familiar dirt path. When they arrived, Abigail smiled. The old oak tree, the place where years earlier, a young man with nothing had asked a young woman to promise she would come back. The tree stood just as proudly as it always had. Golden sunlight filtered through its branches. Mikuel reached into his jacket pocket. He slowly dropped to one knee. Abigail covered her mouth in surprise. "Mikuel," he opened a small ring box. Inside was a simple but beautiful engagement ring. "I know I can't promise you a mansion. I can't promise you private jets. I can't promise you millions of dollars." He smiled. "But I promise to love you every single day for the rest of my life. I promise to stand beside you through every hardship. I promise to never stop believing in your dreams." His eyes filled with tears. "So, Abigail, will you marry me?" Before he could finish speaking, Abigail threw her arms around him. Yes, yes, Mikuel. I'll marry you. I'd choose you in every lifetime. She slipped a ring onto her finger. Both of them laughed through happy tears as they embraced beneath the same tree that had witnessed their promise years before. Sometimes love isn't measured by wealth. Sometimes it isn't measured by status. Real love is measured by sacrifice, by loyalty, by keeping your promises even when life becomes difficult. Mikuel gave up his dream so Abigail could have hers. And in the end, she came back exactly as she promised. Their wedding took place a few months later beneath the old oak tree, surrounded by family, friends, and an entire town that had watched their journey from the very beginning. As the sun set behind the fields, Mikuel and Abigail walked hand in hand toward the future they had built together, not with money, but with faith, sacrifice, and unconditional love. And that made them richer than they had ever imagined. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another inspiring story. Most importantly, tell us in the comments, do you believe true love is proven by sacrifice, or should love always be practical? We'd love to hear your thoughts. See you in the next story.